everyone, and welcome to Eat a Fix, a podcast about a couple hyperfixating on obscure pop culture. I'm your co-host, Paul Unger.
And I'm also your co-host, Jess Unger.
For close to a decade, hyperfixations and the discussions around them have consumed our relationship. And this is a large part due to
you,
me, and the fact that I get hung up on all sorts of things and have been hyperfixating on everything from movies, which is, in this case, a recent string of the Elvis movies, which have really taken hold. I have been going through the commentary by myself. It's gone into different hobbies, like, again, while we were planning this, learning way more about audio engineering than I probably ever will need to, and video game franchises like Kingdom Hearts, and losing years of my life to that intermittently for the past decade or two. Okay,
but also the tinfoil hat business with anything related to Hideo Kojima. We'll cover that at some point, but do you want to tell the folks at home why that is?
Yes, because at the ripe age of 28, I was diagnosed with ADHD, which really helped contextualize a lot of these hyperfixations and different types of habits, such as forgetting almost everything in my life.
Mostly just closing literally all of the kitchen cupboards ever.
That and manically rearranging different components of the house because I felt it was more efficient.
And leaving things half clean to do that, yes.
Yeah. And having these discussions about these hyperfixations has actually really helped me cope with them. So we've gone on, you and I have discussed these to death, and you have been incredibly patient in helping me work through some of these very obscure ones and even, joining me on these journeys. And we found ways of me getting really into your hobbies and your interests, which is Elvis is something that was something you brought into our relationship and I just clung on to.
Which I have never experienced before in my life. That was like a you're in this alone type business, and you're like, cool, I'll come with you. And I was like, what? This is my hole that I live in. Why are you in here too?
And I have to admit, over the past 10 years, I have gained a new fondness to Elvis. Not only like his music, I definitely only knew the mainstream tunes going into this, but I've got a lot more respect for his later in life gospel music,
yes,
for a lot of his other more somber tone music, and his movies. I now am, I was first only really exposed to Fun and Acapulco, and I think Viva Las Vegas. There's a lot of overlap between the movies that if you're only seeing them intermittently, they kind of all blend together to like a weird Elvis in bright clothes soup of him doing weird things like high diving and driving cars, and it's really hard to take that apart and figure out which movie is which. Even in my memories, it's very difficult.
I have a hard time with that. I can't. Which movie is this? I know it has girls in the title, and saying that won't narrow it down because there's like 6 of them.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the most obscure one that you can start off with.
And then there was the one where we're like, okay, it's this one, and it does have girl in the title, and it's actually the one that doesn't.
Yeah, it's really hard to nail those ones down, but I definitely, going through his collection of movies, not just the once, but like revisiting them again, and now being able to just kind of cling on to them and like dig through them as much as we have been has been a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Which is where we are going to go into our 3rd episode in the series of Lights, Camera, Elvis. The many, many movies of Elvis Presley. So Jess, tell us what movie we're covering today.
So this one is my runner-up favorite, with King Creole being the first, which is next time. So I'm also excited for that. But this time is the one and only Jailhouse Rock.
Are you ready for the tagline?
Never, but go ahead.
This one's a good one.
Is it?
His first big dramatic singing role.
Disagree, actually.
They are phoning it in.
That was that?
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
No,
because it absolutely isn't. There's literally 2 movies before this one. Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
It is factually incorrect.
All right. So, to get into some of the facts about this movie, it was released November 8th, 1957. So, January 1958 would be Elvis's 23rd birthday. I'm not a nerd, you are. It was directed by Richard Thorpe, who did Ivanhoe and Knights of the Round Table.
Oh, swashbuckling movies.
I'm down. I'd go find this guy's movies, no problem. It was starring Elvis Presley. Of course, he had top billing in this one, followed by Judy Tyler and Mickey Shaughnessy. Budget was $1 million. Box office brought in $4 million. And in terms of plot, here we go. Vince Everett, played by Elvis Presley, is a hot-headed construction worker who accidentally kills a man during a bar fight and is convicted of manslaughter. So FYI, folks, that is the literal first 5 minutes of the movie. We find out Elvis has a job as a construction worker, kills a guy, is sentenced to jail. 5 whole minutes. Take it in. In prison, his cellmate, former country musician Hunk Houghton, played by Mickey Shaughnessy, teaches him how to play the guitar and about the music industry. Vince decides to try and become a singer when he gets out, but is quickly shot down. A little later on, with the assistance of a record industry exploitation man, or in this case, lady, Peggy, played by Judy Tyler, he's able to become an overnight sensation. However, the road to fame gets complicated when love and ego get in the way, and Vince needs to decide if it's all worth it if he's going to end up alone.
Elvis doesn't sing as much as I thought he would.
No, but there's a whole lot of treat me nice in there. And also a lot of don't leave me now, which is not the best.
No, but there is no hot dog, and there's still a household ban on that song.
Which sucks, because I like hot dog.
Like, it's jaunty, but, like, if I hear it right now, I will run out of the house screaming.
Good enough. Okay, so, what have you got for... Oh, it's not fun facts this time, it's just facts.
Yeah, it was going to be fun facts until I started looking into the movie, and that's not a lot of fun this time around, because, unfortunately, Judy Tyler passed away a few days after the filming of this movie. She was not only a very young actress, but this was very early on in her career, and it seemed like she was on an upward trend. Elvis, for the rest of his life, refused to watch this movie just because it hurt too much. He had become very close with her during the production.
That's unfortunate. This next one here looks like fun.
Well, I mean, fun to read about afterwards, but not fun for Elvis, who lost a tooth cap during the production. I couldn't find the evidence to point to exactly which scene, but a lot of fingers pointed towards the dance number of the actual Jailhouse Rock scene.
There's a lot of jostling.
There is, but he swallowed one of his tooth caps and needed to be hospitalized for a few days, halting production.
Goodness.
Which, that's rough.
It is.
And it was the first feature film that Elvis Presley did that was added into the Library of Congress National Film Registry, which I believe was a much bigger deal at that point in time, where they were a little bit more choosy. Now I think the bar for entry is a little bit lower, or just given the amount of media that there's a lot more going into it at a regular basis.
Interesting.
But that was actually a good mark for Elvis and, you know, this film in particular.
Cool. You're missing one, though.
Which one's that?
The fact that the Jailhouse Rock song dance sequence in the film was the precursor to the concept of music videos going forward.
Which would later make his later Elvis movies obsolete. Because they are just music videos with convoluted plot. And
very loud shirts.
I don't mind the loud shirts. I kind of wish I had some of the loud shirts.
I'm sure we could find them.
Yeah. Apparently that's who I am as a person.
I don't know if I'm okay with that.
I'm not either.
Okay, so... now that we've discovered these things about ourselves, was this your first time seeing the whole movie?
I know when I was younger, I saw bits and pieces. I didn't really realize how dramatic the movie got. It wasn't until we first started dating that I saw it through for the first time all the way together. And I think now I'm up to watching it 3 times. This is easily one of those movies like King Creole I know I've seen like
more than once.
Oh, I think I'm up to 12 times at this point. But this one is one I wouldn't mind rewatching.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And for yourself, when did you first watch this movie? I'm kind of curious because this is a little bit more mature than like I think the rest of his whole filmography.
Okay, here's the thing though. I would, and this is dating myself here, basically grab a newspaper, scour it for the TV guide, and find out which Elvis movies were on when and what channel. 9 times out of 10, they were on 3 a.m., and I would watch them then. Nobody cared. Everyone was sleeping.
That's rough.
Like, that's just... But it was like, I must hide my shame.
I forget about the pre-streaming media days.
Yeah, but even you know how hard it is to try and find and stream a flipping Elvis movie.
It is so difficult in Canada. No platform has any Elvis movies. And we don't have MGM produce this one. And they, I think through, 6 degrees of corporate buyouts, is owned by Disney now. So by all accounts, this should be on Disney Plus, which ain't gonna happen for whatever reason.
Is Elvis a Disney prince? Say yes. Just say yes.
Yeah.
That being said, though, I do not know when I first saw this, because my mentality back in the day was, I don't care what I'm watching. If he's in it, I'm watching it. That, I don't know. And like you said, many of the movies just kind of all scramble together.
Yeah.
So it's not very easy to pinpoint. However, you seemed pretty animated when watching this movie. I know you had a few favorite parts. Please tell us what they are.
Okay. This has what I've learned is my 3 favorite things in any Elvis movie to occur.
Okay.
First.
Yes.
Elvis, and this is a trend I've noticed, Elvis always gets his own sort of jaunty intro from everyone else. He's never introduced in a group. He always comes out himself. So in this case, he comes in on this little dinky tractor when all these construction workers are getting paid. And apparently he gets a lofty sum, which goes into my second favorite thing. Because when the bar fight starts, when Elvis kills a man with the assistance of a jukebox, he uses the skills gained from Captain Kirk's school of cinematic combat. And he fights this man off like a Gorn to the death, short of using a giant boulder.
Styrofoam boulder, to be clear.
Don't kill the immersion for me.
I'm just saying, if you're going to be fully immersed, and if you're following Captain Kirk's school of combat,
yeah,
it's got to be a styrofoam boulder.
The only thing that he's lacking is he has yet to tear his shirt in a fight.
Cleanly,
yes. That is when he is graduated.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll be looking out for that. And the third, and this is the second movie to do this.
Out of 3, yeah.
He willingly agrees to a 50-50 split with someone. And I think this is just the Colonel normalizing this, because first was Glenda from Loving You. Mm-hmm. And it's seen as like a good deal that he's gotten himself into. And then he strikes a deal with Hunk. And this guy looks a lot more closer to what the Colonel looks like. And he gets Elvis into a 50-50 deal. And a lot more sources are kind of pointing to the fact of maybe he was behind the scenes trying to normalize this for Elvis so he didn't think too hard about his contract. But the more that this shows up, I just absolutely love it. And this one, my final thing that I love about this Elvis.
Yes.
Vince is sassy as all get out. He is the sassiest Elvis I can ever recall. And he doesn't go in sassy. He goes into prison angry. He comes out sassy, quippy, and just all around the man of action I want in my life. When someone wrongs him, he's not going to throw hands. He's going to slap him around. Doesn't matter if he's a CEO of a company or a lowly person on the street.
That was a good scene.
Front hand and back.
You know good thief. Slap, slap. It was...
Knock the shirt cuffs...
Knock those fancy cufflinks right off his shirt. Absolutely.
And, like, there's a lot of good lines that he delivers, and just a lot of... I can't think of a better word than sass, but, like, he is on his game with the quippy comebacks. Like, there is some really good writing.
Yep.
And it's really hard to pick, like, a favorite scene out of him being sassy, but there's good ones.
Yes.
And how about for you? You've seen this a bunch.
Yes.
I know you have your favorite scene, so...
Not necessarily my favorite scene, but my favorite line. And this is actually also confirmed and validated in the commentary as being probably one of the best lines Elvis has ever said in a movie. So thank you. I feel so much better. So at one point, Peggy takes him to meet her parents. And the parents are having a party and everyone's talking about jazz. And I don't understand a bloody thing either, so I don't blame poor Vince for not knowing. Peggy gets super angry because Vince stormed out of the house, and then Peggy runs after him, and she's like, "You suck, I think I'm gonna hate you," and he's like, "I'm not gonna let you hate me," and then he, like, kisses her real hard, and then...
How dare you think such cheap tactics would work with me?
I ain't tactics, honey. It's just the beast in me.
The most glorious line of all flipping time, and I melt every time I hear it. So, no matter how often I have seen this movie, color or black and white, that line just gets me every time.
It's a good line.
It is a very good line. Because, I mean, who wouldn't fall for someone like that? Right?
No, he oozes charisma, like scoundrel charisma, like you're Han Solo type, like you hate that you love him.
Yeah. There's even another scene where, like, Elvis is compared to, like, your run-of-the-mill, quote-unquote, like, good guy Brian, or whatever. Peggy's gonna go out on a date with this dude named Ted, who's a DJ. And, like, Elvis waltzes in, and he's, like, talking about where they're gonna go for dinner, and then he notices Peggy's all dressed up, and then he flat out tells her, "You look really sexy tonight." Uses the word sexy. And then in walks Archie Andrews, Ted, and he's like, "You look scrumptious." And I'm like, Peggy, make the right choice here. Don't go with Archie. Go with Reggie, who says sexy. Like, it's very clear here.
Yeah. One of those two has game, and it ain't Ted. Like, I was gonna say, you could have just slapped him in a sweater vest, but that was the style of the time, and I think just maybe would have elevated his character a little bit more than that cardboard cutout of a person.
It was just so, like, I don't know how Peggy looked Vince straight in the face and was like, "I'm gonna go to dinner with Ted." Like, no! He just called you scrumptious. Ugh, you're not food.
I think it did say something about the fact that Vince came in with all these lofty plans that he had made a reservation, and he didn't once talk to her. She didn't have time to cancel her plans.
No, I get that.
Yeah, but Peggy has...
In a perfect theoretical world.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been like, buzz off, Ted. No, thank you.
I have to admit, I've seen snippets of it beforehand. I've seen the Jailhouse Rock set piece done up a bunch.
Yeah.
I like parodied or referenced or homaged. That sounds like such a pretentious word, but like
it kind of
is. Yeah,
is.
it is. But I've seen it so much that it's kind of like burned into my pop culture knowledge. But I never get tired of it. That is just a fun music video.
It is. I've always really liked it. Out of every single Elvis movie, that part I think is hands down one of my favorites because it's so much fun.
And I like that it's diegetic into the world. Like, it's a TV special that Elvis has gotten so famous that he's doing. And Hunk, who is there with the 50-50 split, has gotten... Elvis used his star power to basically wedge Hunk in there.
Or he tried.
He tried. And Hunk is just giving an idea of, like, how with it he is. He's dressed in, like, cowboy apparel, almost, like, to a cartoonish level.
He's, like, sitting on hay.
He gets, like, a few chords into the song before the guys just decide to pull the pin. And there was, like, other signs kind of building up that, like, Hunk had his time, he had his demographic, he's far out of his wheelhouse, and he made this deal to try and coast with Elvis. But I think he wasn't expecting to get just slapped down so hard. And Vince, his character, realizes this and, like, tries to cut him out.
Yeah, but keeps him around as, like, an assistant.
Yeah. He ends up using the lawyer who became his manager, who looks like off-brand Vincent Price.
If he was more studious because of glasses, yes.
And finds out that their prison contract won't hold up because I guess there was no... Can you have a criminal record and be a notary? Otherwise it would be very hard to find a notary in prison.
I don't know. I think it was one of just those, like, a bond of honor or whatever. Like, they're two men of their word making a spit contract. I don't know. I don't know what people do. I wonder
when you wrote the paper on. Like, what was the paper? Was that just like toilet paper? Like,
I was gonna say, are they allowed paper? I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
I don't know what jail was like back then, but no, that was good. The end of this movie, though, I know disappointed you.
Yes. Because everything is set up, I felt like the whole story was Vince is so driven by wanting to get money and get fame that he's kind of blinded to the fact of the friendship they used to have with Hunk. Even though it was very skewed, Hunk has become... Like, he went from being, like, the leader in the prison to now that they're on equal ground, is treating him less than. His relationship with Peggy has gone to the wayside now that she doesn't agree with the fact that he's,
selling the company that they made together.
That, and he's making out with other actresses and these other things.
Yes.
And eventually, like, it has this whole thing of he can either be happy with Peggy and not be famous, or he can continue down this road and he's going to lose these people in his life, especially once he sells the company, because that's what kind of binded them all together.
Yes.
So he's going to sell the company, it's going to sever all those ties, and he eventually pushes Hunk a little too far. I think Hunk deserved to be kind of put in his place, but Hunk wails him in the throat. Like, I was not expecting a throat punch to be the climax of the film.
And not even delivered by Elvis.
Yeah. Elvis actually doesn't throw a punch during the whole thing because...
Well, during that particular altercation, no, he didn't. And that was a big deal.
And he ends up being hospitalized, not knowing if he'll be able to sing again because his vocal cords were damaged and needed surgery. I thought that the better, once the surgery's done, they try and get him to sing again. I thought the better end to his story, his character arc, would be if maybe he did recover but chose not to sing and pretend so he could be with Peggy. He sells the company, he gets rich, the two of them could be happily ever after. He doesn't need the fame or the money anymore, he's with her. Or he did actually have his throat damaged and he's just able to do that same thing. But instead he has this musical number and he's forgiven Hunk and Peggy's beside him. And there's still a good chance a week from now he might become a jerk again, just obsessed with money and fame. And Hunk might not always be around to wail him in his trachea. And it's great to have a friend that's willing to put you in your place, but to damage your vocal cords and how you breathe, That is a little too forceful, but
Yes.
I thought that would have been a better ending to his story, and I think would have just been,
Yeah.
would have elevated that film just a bit, and I feel like this is like 3 films in a row where I'm like, small little changes, and Elvis would be great.
Better. Yeah, no, I actually agree with that. I didn't realize it until you mentioned it, and I agree. I could absolutely go for that. But no, this is definitely one of my favorite movies, and if asked, yes, I would 100% recommend anyone and everyone watch this one, because it really is a testament to how Elvis can be.
Yeah, this is better acting than I saw in the last 2, and just going through it, his skills got way better from one movie to the next.
Yeah.
Loving You was significantly better than Love Me Tender. Love Me Tender, he was already in like a supporting role and just...
He was a baby in that movie.
This one, serious acting chops.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in King Creole, that just gets even better. King Creole is also one of my favorites. This one, it's getting there. I still have some favorites later on, regardless of their cheesiness. But we'll get to those eventually.
Yes.
Which I am looking forward to.
We're getting into the garbage fire section here soon.
We got a few more.
One more. After King Creole is The Decline.
Yes. But King Creole goes up. There's still a few more in the critically...
No, because after King Creole, I'm pretty sure is GI Blues, and let me tell you, it is the beginning of the garbage fire.
There's some bounces throughout, but yeah,
they are minimal.
Yeah.
They are minimal. And if there are bounces, it's only due to nostalgia fondness, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Viva Las Vegas in the middle. Anyway.
That's another one. I forget about that one because it has so many other traits of other movies.
Yeah. But it's just good because him and Anne Margaret play very well. Anyway, we'll get there when we get there.
I would also recommend this is one to watch.
Yes.
And if someone is listening for any of the streaming services, please, for the sake of us having to like dig out DVD players and dust off DVDs and watch this stuff in horrible, horrible standard definition. If you could, put any of these movies on any streaming services, that'd be, great.
Even if it's the bad ones, we don't care. We just want them.
We'd watch them.
We would. Even Double Trouble, which is one of the worst ones.
Maybe Double Trouble. At least once.
Just to be like, why do we hate this one? Oh, that's why. Yeah. So, I think that does it for this particular one. Thank you so much for listening. We very much appreciate you. Tune in next time for when we do King Creole, which is also one of the better ones. And always, always remember, like what you like, no matter what the mean kids say. Big thank you to Ethel and the Androids for the use of their song Used to Know You for the intro and the outro. You can find the link to their SoundCloud in the show description, as well as all our links to our social media. And thanks for tuning in and listening to our podcast. If you like the show, be sure to review and subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice.